UFC Fight Night Vegas 21, Edwards vs Muhammad, ended with a sour note, but there was an entire rest of a card that went on that night as well, and that was really good. So I'm going to start with the early prelims, end with the main event, going through the entire card, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Matheus Semelsberger versus Jason Witt. Both guys go out there. I picked Jason Witt to win this fight by submission. He was a big underdog to start things off. He wasn't a massive underdog, but he was an underdog to start things off. He ended even, so a lot of people took Jason Witt as an underdog, but Matheus Semelsberger goes out there and within 15 seconds of the first round, straight right hand blasts Jason Witt backwards and KOs him in the first round. Brutally. One punch KO, Jason Witt goes down, no follow-up shots needed. Matheus Semelsberger, I guess it's better for the UFC that he won because he's the younger guy and he's going to be a little bit more marketable as well, and now he's on a bit of a win streak in the UFC, 2-0 right now, so I guess we've got a new contender to watch out for at welterweight, but Jason Witt just got blasted in the first round by KO. And it kicked off the card with a bang. Good job, Matheus Semelsberger. Straight right hand on the chin. There really isn't much else to talk about. I think Jason Witt was going for a leg kick at the time. It was very Jourdain versus Nasrat Haqparast-esque. And Semelsberger just blasted him with a right hand. First round KO. Moving on up the card. Gloria de Paula versus Frey. Yeah. Frey just ended up on top now and again, and that's enough to win fights in women's MMA because the person on bottom has no idea what they're doing on bottom, and they're just going to lie there for the rest of the round. The first round goes by, Frey gets on top, stays on top the whole round. Gloria de Paula has no idea what she's doing. She actually gives up an armbar at one point. She had an armbar in the first round, and she just sort of got herself out of it, so Gloria de Paula gets herself out of an armbar. I picked her to win this fight. I thought she'd start really piecing up Frey on the feet, but then she starts doing really well in the second round, starts landing great shots on Frey on the feet, landing great shots, starting to wear down on Frey, landing some good ones to the body, some great knees, some great leg kicks, some great shots upstairs. Why she continues to throw body kicks in the fight, I have no idea, but Frey eventually gets her back down, gets her to the ground, controls her there for the rest of the round. 9 minutes 33 of top control for Frey. Goes for some submissions as well. Good win for Frey. It wasn't the most entertaining fight, don't get me wrong, but women's MMA, as soon as they go down, the woman on bottom is not going to get back up. Moving on up the card. Courtney Casey versus JJ Aldridge. Judges, I thought that Courtney Casey won this fight very clearly in rounds 1 and 3. It was a close fight, don't get me wrong, but I'm sick of the saying that close fights aren't robberies. I thought that Courtney Casey won this fight. I predicted Courtney Casey to win this fight by decision. I actually said it would happen by 29-28 unanimous decision. I thought I was going to be correct. In rounds 1 and 3, I really thought Courtney Casey did enough to win that fight. Outlanded JJ Aldridge on the feet. There was no real damage done with the takedowns whatsoever. But I'm going to say this. I'm just going to say this big statement again because I'm making hot takes today. Okay, you ready for them? They're coming hot. They literally don't care about what they score male MMA fights with. They ignore the rules for women's MMA. If someone gets a takedown, they will literally win a round because of that. But in male MMA, you need to do a lot of damage with it. Otherwise, you could lose from a guy being on bottom and landing more total strikes. But in women's MMA, being on top means something to the judges. I've noticed this a lot. So I'm going to start not using the way that we judge MMA fights for men when female MMA fights come on, because JJ Aldridge, in my opinion, should have lost that fight in rounds 1 and 3. But a great performance. Wasn't the most action-packed fight, but they both landed some good shots back and forth on the feet in certain moments. Casey managed to rock JJ Aldridge a couple of times, but then again, JJ would land a good shot back here and there. So it was a good fight, good scrap. JJ Aldridge wins. I thought that Casey won it, rounds 1 and 3. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I think it's pretty unanimous. Moving on, up the card. Nasrat Haqparast versus Rafa Garcia. Now we get interesting. Okay, this was amazing. I loved this fight. And I know the main event spoiled the whole card, but this was actually a really good fight on the card. Nasrat Haqparast and Rafa Garcia went to war in that fight, back and forth, non-stop, landing great shots back and forth. Nasrat would land more shots, but then again, Rafa Garcia would come back and land one big shot right on the chin of Nasrat Haqparast. I mean, I was surprised that Nasrat did not go down. He took those shots well off of Rafa Garcia. Garcia came in as a huge underdog, and he just went straight to work in that first round. I think the first round could maybe be seen the way of Rafa Garcia, because he did land some big shots on Nasrat Haqparast. I didn't see Nasrat Haqparast get rocked by anything, but then again, it was 20-15 on strikes. I gave the first round to Nasrat Haqparast. I thought he landed a little bit more in the first round by far. It was only by five strikes, actually, it turns out. But Rafa Garcia, I don't mind him winning that first round. However, the third and the fourth round of the bout, I think the massive difference here was the body work of Nasrat Haqparast. He kept dipping to the body. He kept landing good front kicks to the body at range. And I think that's what made the difference here as the fight went on. Not to mention, Rafa Garcia took this one on short notice. I think if he has a full camp, maybe he can make it a little bit more competitive with Nasrat Haqparast as it goes on, and maybe even secure himself the win. But come the third round, it was just basically Nasrat Haqparast battering Rafa Garcia around the cage, and he couldn't really do much about it because he was completely gassed out. But he kept swinging back, so respect to Rafa Garcia, respect to Nasrat Haqparast. Great fight on the card. In any other card, this could be a contender for fight of the night. It was such an amazing fight back and forth, but you know what? Great scrap. Nasrat gets it done with better technique, arguably. Straight shots down the middle, big looping hooks around the outside, and Nasrat just kept beating him to the punch. Good job, Nasrat Haqparast. I picked him by decision, unanimous, 29-28, and I said maybe that Rafa could secure the first round. I thought I got that one pretty good. Nasrat gets it done. Moving on up the card, Ronnie Yaya versus Rey Rodriguez. I picked Ronnie Yaya, obviously. Rey Rodriguez is not good. I don't know why he's in the UFC. He landed some decent shots, and I was worried for Ronnie Yaya in certain moments because he is an older man. He's had some trouble taking shots before in his career, but he took some shots well, got the grappling going, got the takedowns, and it was as soon as they were on the ground. I mean, I've never seen so many foreshadowing moments of a submission happening than in this fight. Rey Rodriguez was almost in an arm triangle for as long as he was on the ground with Ronnie Yaya. Like, literally every minute of the fight that went by, Rey Rodriguez would be in another arm triangle, and he'd have to work his way out of it, try and get his arm around the other side, scoop it round the underside of Ronnie Yaya's head, try and get his shoulder flat against the canvas. He played a lot of the on the phone situation where you pretend you're on the phone and you try and work your way out that way, but eventually it was too much and Ronnie Yaya secures the submission via arm triangle in the second round. It was just that Rey Rodriguez grew tired of defending the position, sort of like a Jourdain but Islam Makhachev submission, but Ronnie Yaya gets it done as an old man. I thought he would go to a decision as the fight went on. I didn't think Rey Rodriguez would get submitted, and I thought Rani was going to play it safe in half guard, and I thought I was actually going to be correct there, because for the majority of the fight, Ronnie Yaya was just playing it safe in half guard on the ground. Wasn't the most eventful fight, don't get me wrong, but eventually he gets the submission win by arm triangle. Great job for Ronnie Yaya getting it done. Moving on up the card, Jourdain versus Marcelo Rojo, and we're back to action. This card was amazing. There were some lulls in the action, but then the next fight after that would always be a massive explosion. Jourdain versus Marcelo Rojo. First of all, both of these men are complete savages. I loved this fight back and forth. I thought it could have been 1-1 going into the third. I thought it could have been 2-0 Jourdain going into the third. I thought it could have been 2-0 Marcelo Rojo going into the third. I actually don't even mind who you scored this to. I think the second round is clear Jourdain, maybe, but I don't mind. I actually don't mind. This was actually such a crazy fight going on at the time that maybe watching it back, I could tell you who won those first two rounds clearly. But in the moment, I was thinking, man, who won that first round? Probably Marcelo Rojo. But I wouldn't be surprised if Jourdain got it, because he landed some good shots too. Then I would sort of go into the second round and think, man, I thought that Jourdain really won that round, but Marcelo Rojo had a moment where he landed like a 5-punch combination against a cage with body shots. Like, it was just non-stop back and forth. Jourdain would land great body shots in the fight, and I think that's eventually what did the majority of the damage and led to his eventual win. The body work of Jourdain, exactly the same as the Nasrat Haqparast situation. I mean, Marcelo Rojo actually landed more shots to the body and legs, but I think Jourdain's were more effective. Like, Rojo's was little hooks on the inside. Jourdain's was big winding up shots when they were in the clinch against each other. Massive big body shots by Jourdain. Massive body kicks by Jourdain. Rojo would land a couple of leg kicks, but they were like not as much as Jourdain's ones. They were more chopping down right on the fire, doing a little bit more damage. But in the third round, eventually Rojo lands on that leg and Jourdain starts stepping a little bit funny, and then he just turns it on in the third round. I think his coaches said to him, we don't know who's won. It could be 2-0 to the other guy. It could be 2-0 you. Leave no doubt in their mind. And as soon as it happened in the third round, Jourdain picked it up, went out there and just started going to work on Marcelo Rojo. There was a moment in the fight. This fight was crazy, by the way. You've got to go back and watch it. I love every Jourdain fight, but this one was particularly good. The third round, Jourdain pulls off the first ever Superman hammer fist off of the cage. I don't even know what happened. Off the cage, hammer fist to ground and pound. He jumps off the cage while Rojo's on the ground and like lands a hammer fist on him for it as well. Lands great ground and pound shots in the third round, really beating up Marcelo Rojo. Then eventually at the end of the third round, it's just those body shots, man. I mean, Rojo was taking great shots to the chin all night long from Jourdain. Great hooks on the chin, eating them well, getting rocked here and there, but still fighting back with his own hooks and making it messy when he needed to survive. But Jourdain eventually just found the shots he needed to the body, and then you can't take those body shots eventually, man. You just can't keep taking them, and eventually Marcelo Rojo went down in the third round, and Jourdain finished it off. What an amazing performance, though, and I think Marcelo Rojo's stock just went way up because that guy is so entertaining. We need him in the UFC. I don't care if it was his debut and he lost. Keep that man around. He'll put on great shows. Jourdain gets the job done, though. Moving on up the card, I called him by TKO as well. Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoder. Pretty easy. I said that Angela Hill would go out there and just completely destroy her by unanimous decision, outlanding her every single round on the feet. It's exactly what happened. Ashley Yoder's 8-7 now. Like, why is she here? She isn't good. She has a 4-inch reach advantage, but never used a jab once in the fight, it felt like. Angela Hill just completely tuned her apart on the feet. I thought it was going to get finished a couple of times. There were some moments where Ashley Yoder got hurt to the body, and I was thinking, oh, eventually she's going to go down to these knees from Angela Hill. But Angela Hill, no matter what she hit Yoder with, Yoder just stayed in there, trying to win the fight, eventually getting some takedowns here and there as well. So credit to Ashley Yoder for being tough and staying in there, but what we doing now, you know? Like, what the fuck was that fucking technique, though? I didn't pick her, and I'm still angry. What was that fucking technique, Yoder, man? Like, you've been training for a decade. What's going on in your gym? Surely they're not teaching these... I can't even say anything, but they're not teaching the women's fighters the same way they're teaching the men. That's all I'll say. She's not learning. She's not improving. Whatever. She looks like she looks lost out there, like she's drunk. But whatever. Angela Hill gets the job done, being better on the feet for 3 rounds. Some tricky moments on the ground where Yoder would end up on top, but Ashley Yoder just didn't really do anything with it, and Angela Hill won the fight on the feet with the damage. Moving on to the main card. Eryk Anders versus Darren Stewart. Okay, the Funkmaster Darren Stewart strikes again. I'm joking here, but I am not joking at the same time, because Darren Stewart was on his way out of that fight. Okay, Eryk Anders was actually doing pretty well. I thought Darren Stewart would be winning the fight pretty handily here against Eryk Anders by decision. Darren Stewart goes out there, is actually winning the early part of the round, landing good shots on the feet, landing good leg kicks on Eryk Anders, catching him with good punches, starting to back Eryk Anders up a little bit, but then Eryk Anders started sort of pushing Darren Stewart against the cage, landing some big shots on the break and starting to smother Darren Stewart so that Darren Stewart couldn't move too much around when they were throwing these combinations. Eventually, Eryk Anders actually drops Darren Stewart in the fight really badly, and I thought Darren Stewart was out, but he stays in there, keeps going, tries to fight through it, but eventually we end up in the position again in fights where a guy is trying to play the hand-down knee game to get themselves out of danger, and I'm really starting to feel like, I didn't feel this way a couple of months ago, but since we're seeing it more and more now, we need to get rid of that fucking rule. You should be allowed to knee these guys, because everyone, now I'm noticing it, is playing that fucking game. Oh, I'll get down on one knee against the cage, I'm hurt, so I'll just do that, and then they can't fucking hit me well. It's like a little free out for a loser, basically. A guy who's like a pussy and is getting beaten up, it's like a nice little HQ, a nice little safe place for them, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'll just play the knee game and I'll be fine for 30 seconds. It shouldn't be that way. You should be able to just finish them off from there, and if a fighter is actually not... A fighter is not going to be in that position if they want to win a fight anyway, so the only time to even do that is when you're losing. And Darren Stewart, I don't even think the knee landed. No one's really talking about that. I don't even think the knee landed. It looked like it bounced off the glove of Darren Stewart. I mean, it was a good shot, like it was a knee, and it obviously is going to do some kind of damage. But I also can't help but notice that there was a delay on Darren Stewart's fall. He was fine for a second. The referee says, whoa, 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 illegal, and then... down goes Darren Stewart onto the canvas, holding his face. He did actually say he wanted to get back in there, but he said that while wobbling backwards, whilst looking at the referee and the doctor. So obviously the doctor's going to say this man's clearly concussed. I think he was still concussed from being dropped by Eryk Anders and beaten up quite badly at the end of that first round. But, another called off fight. This one's a no contest, though. Why? Yan got his belt taken away for this same reason, but make sure Eryk Anders keeps his 13-5 record? What are we doing? You ruined Yan's legacy. by making it a disqualification, because for Jan it was intentional, but for Anders it's not intentional. They're both winning the fight at the moment that they throw the knee, so it's not intentional, because why would you throw an illegal move when you're winning? Fair enough if you're losing and you throw an illegal move, maybe then it should be a DQ, but if you're winning, why do we need to protect Eryk Anders' record and ranking spot to make it a no contest for an illegal knee? But with Piotr Jan, it's like, no, take away his belt, we're making it a DQ, give the belt to Alger. Have some fucking consistency on your rules. What is going on? Moving on up the card. Manel Kape versus Matheus Nicolau. Alright then. We had some great prelim bouts, but the main card started off stinky. This was a fun match. Manel Kape won the fucking fight. Okay? He won it in rounds 1 and rounds 3. I know it was a really close fight, and I know that a lot of people are going to say right now, Guru, stop calling close fight robberies. If Darren Stewart won, or not if Darren Stewart, if Darren Till won against Robert Whittaker, everyone would call it a robbery. It's a very close fight. There are clear winners in fights, okay? I know that there is a term, and that term is so annoying. Close fights aren't robberies, Guru. Yes, they are. There are clear winners of fights sometimes, and Manel Kape literally dropped Matheus Nicolau to a knee in the 3rd round. He battered him in the 2nd round, could have been on his way to a 10-8 round, whatever. Lost the 1st round on his back to Matheus Nicolau, but survived it well, got back up, started doing well in the 2nd round, did not put his foot on the pedal in the 3rd where he needed to. Really stupid decision making for Manel Kape to make it as close as it was. It could have been way clearer. There was even a moment in the 3rd round with, I believe, 2 minutes left, where Nicolau's on the floor after slipping, and he's on his back, and Manel Kape's just looking at him. 2 minutes left. Both guys sweaty. He can literally just lay in half guard and total strike his way to a unanimous decision win, and nothing's going to happen. Nicolau gassed out, sweaty, on his back, 2 minutes left of the fight in the 3rd round, and Manel Kape is fucking looking at him on the ground, doing nothing. I know he's not a jiu-jitsu guy, but he's a fucking good guy in the grappling. What's going on? Get on the ground, get in half guard. He's not going to fucking Ezekiel choke you. Like, get on top and win the fight that way. But no, he decides to risk it, goes out there in the 3rd round, lands some good shots in the 3rd, and I thought he just sort of snuck the 3rd round at the end. It was a close round back and forth. I thought, you know what, let's see who wins these last minute or 30 seconds. Manel Kape won those last minute and 30 seconds. He just landed the bigger shots. Landed a good shot that dropped Nicolau to a knee at one point, and a follow-up shot behind it, and even ended it with a nice little looping hook over the top as Nicolau was trying to circle out. And I thought Manel Kape won the fight rounds 2 and 3, but what the fuck? The judges do what they want. I picked Manel Kape. I thought he won it, but Nicolau wins. Now moving on. Jonathan Martinez versus Davey Grant. Great fight while it lasted. Jonathan Martinez drops Davey Grant at the end of the 1st round badly, batters him a little bit at the end as well. People are talking about 10-8 rounds. I'm not talking about 10-8 rounds. I actually thought Davey Grant was up on strikes in that 1st round before getting dropped at the end, so I thought that actually the drop from Jonathan Martinez stole him the round, because Davey Grant was out there throwing some crazy techniques, like dancing around, throwing some side kicks, jumping front kicks to the body. He was doing everything he did from range, throwing some looping hooks over the top that I thought were a little bit risky at the time, but they ended up working out for him. I mean, the 1st round was close, but yeah, Davey Grant still outlanded Jonathan Martinez, even with being dropped at the end and having those ground and pound shots, so I don't see that a 10-8 round. 10-9 round to Jonathan Martinez. 2nd round comes around, and Davey Grant's just landing big shots on Jonathan Martinez. A lot of them, and often, cracking him on the chin, because Jonathan Martinez is just eating looping hooks from Davey Grant. And then Jonathan Martinez tries to hook back with him, and as he does, Davey Grant cashes in with a 1-punch KO. Down goes Jonathan Martinez. It was a little bit, maybe let him try and fight, but like he wasn't doing anything afterwards. It was a fine stoppage in my opinion. Not a championship bout. He gets slumped completely with 1 punch from Davey Grant, and Davey Grant gets it done and potentially earns himself another 50k bonus, because that was a great KO. Good for Davey Grant. He's from Durham, so I'm elated with my performance. He's got a great accent, seems like a nice guy, kids at home, give him the 50k bonus. He's earned it again. Dangerous Davey Grant improves to 13 and 4 at bantamweight, and he is on a bit of a spree right now. 3 fights in a row. He beat Grigory Popov. He KO'd In his last fight, he KO'd Martin Day in the 3rd round. Now he's just KO'd Jonathan Martinez, the up-and-comer. So Davey Grant's right there at the top, and I'd like to see him versus a good ranked, or a high, maybe a Davey Grant versus Saeed Nurmagomedov. Winner of that one gets a ranked opponent. Something like this in the bantamweight division. But Davey Grant, 1-punch KO in the 2nd round. I picked Martinez to win, as everyone did, I feel like. But Davey Grant gets it done. Moving on. Dan Ige versus Gavin Tucker. I picked Dan Ige to win. I picked him to win by split decision. Okay, I thought this was going to be a fight of the night performance from both of them. Dan Ige KOs him 20 seconds in. 1 punch. Down goes Gavin Tucker. First time in his career. Out cold. No... What? It was a crazy card. Like, such unexpected things happened. Even if you pick the person to win, like I did here with Dan Ige, Gavin Tucker's a real prospect in the featherweight division. I thought he was going to go out there and make it real tough for Dan Ige, and I thought maybe Ige was going to sneak ahead by the narrowest of margins. And I'm glad that he didn't, because maybe they would have robbed him here. But Dan Ige went out there, lived up to his nickname finally. 50k Dan Ige. He has not got many bonuses in his career. I know he's had some fight of the night bonuses here and there, but not really that performance bonus that he's really looking for. But there it is. Dan Ige, 1-punch KO in the 1st round. Definitely a 50k bonus. I think you've got to give it to him and Davey Grant. And for fight of the night, I think it's going to have to go to Jourdain versus Rojo. I know Nasrat Haqparast versus Rafa Garcia was good. You've got to give it to Jourdain versus Rojo. Fight of the night there. Performance bonuses to Dan Ige and Davey Grant. That's all the bonuses. But Dan Ige, man, moving on in the division. I know he called out the Korean Zombie. I don't think he's going to get the Korean Zombie fight. I think they're going to do the Korean Zombie versus Calvin Kattar. I think Dan Ige should look for the winner of Burgos versus Barboza. Could maybe, like, redeem himself against Barboza. I know he won the first time, but everyone thinks he lost, so maybe we can run that back and have the controversy there as maybe, like, the co-main event of a fight night or the main card of a pay-per-view somewhere. That would be a good fight. Or even fights Burgos, which was the first fight that was booked anyway, so Dan Ige versus Shane Burgos would also be a great fight to make. But Gavin Tucker, straight to the back of the line. 1-punch KO from Dan Ige. Craziness. Moving on up the card to the co-main event, Misha Stand and Bang Cirkunov versus Ryan, the decently good man Spann. He's good. He landed a big KO in the 1st round. It was actually a good KO. He snuck his way on the inside, ate the jab from Misha Cirkunov, said, fuck it, I'm going to get my range. Snuck through afterwards, landed the big right hand as Misha Cirkunov sort of turning away after the jab lands and gets a 1st round KO over Misha Cirkunov. I will say this. I was furious in the moment, okay? Ryan Spann landed a big 1st round KO. Great for the division. Great for the UFC. The younger guy wins. The guy who's more promotable and more of a prospect gets the jump over an older guy in Misha Cirkunov that we've already seen lose to the top guys. Ryan Spann gets a chance in the rankings. But Misha Cirkunov trained 8 weeks for this fight, okay? And I am furious about this because I'm about done predicting MMA. I picked Misha Cirkunov by 1st round submission. I thought it was guaranteed. He trained 8 weeks for this fight. To go out there and swing back and forth with Ryan Spann in the 1st round. I am starting to believe that the UFC is just rigging some fights. I'm not saying they're rigging this one, okay? I am not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But it's fucking hard to believe that that was the game plan. Shoot a fucking takedown, you black belt in jiu-jitsu. You Peruvian necktie wizard. You can Peruvian necktie Jimmy Crute. You can't shoot a takedown on Ryan Spann. It was just so annoying to watch him go out there and just every single moment try and swing with Ryan Spann back and forth. What a stupid, stupid moment for Misha Cirkunov. Really let down my predictions there and a lot of my money as well. So, oh well, Ryan Spann gets a KO in the 1st round. It was a good KO. It was actually a really good finish. Clean win for Ryan Spann. We'll see if we can maybe get Ryan Spann another ranked contender. I think we're going to have to do Johnny Walker versus someone, Ryan Spann versus someone, meet them together for a rematch. Then we'll jump the person ahead after that. Maybe Ryan Spann gets it. Who knows what we're going to do with Ryan Spann. I know he wants a top 10 contender. He was looking at the winner of Smith versus Crute. I'd like to see him versus the winner of Smith versus Crute. That would be pretty cool because if it's Smith, That's a really big name for Ryan Spann. And if it's Jimmy Crute, we can say that Jimmy Crute beat the guy who beat Misha Cirkunov if he can get a win over Ryan Spann, because Ryan Spann's got really good power in the light heavyweight division. But great win for Ryan Spann, gets a KO in the first round. Moving on up the card to the main event, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. It wasn't actually an eye poke. It was like this. His fingers, it finished by eye poke, no contest, accidental eye poke. It wasn't actually an eye poke. I've seen it. I've watched it back. He's doing this, hunching his hand over. He thumbs like the eyebrow of Belal, and as he does it, he like shimmies his fingers in a way where like they clip on to the bottom eyelid of Belal. It wasn't an eye poke. They weren't straight like this going into his eye, and they didn't go into his eye. It like, as he sort of framed off, he basically threw a punch to disguise a body kick underneath it with the left hand. And as he threw it, he like hunched it like this, and it got caught underneath the eyelid of Belal, and he sort of stretched it back a bit, and it pinged it, which I'm assuming is going to lead to some kind of bleeding on the eyeball. So Belal Muhammad's sitting there with like blood coming out of his eye, which is obviously going to be fucking terrifying. So they're going to call off the fight immediately. I mean, there's not really much to do. Hey, can you see? There's blood coming out of his eyes. Like, stop it. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, what a way to end the main event. All good though. 4 a.m, you know? UK fans really are the most underrated MMA fans in the world. European fans in general. Fuck you Americans. You guys stay up till like 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. like, what a bad main event, man. It's fucking 4 a.m. You know? But Leon Edwards looked good. Won the first round, landed a big head kick, rocked Belal Muhammad at one point and really badly hurt him. Landed a good shot, 1-2 at one point as well in the fight. Belal Muhammad looked good though, landed an elbow back. He was in the fight, but Leon Edwards was controlling the fight and being better overall. I don't fucking know what to do next anymore. I'm going to go to fucking bed. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Goodbye. I'll see you later. Toodle pip.